Bringing light to the college admissions process and how it can impact low-income schools. Personal Statement centers around 3 seniors at Brooklyn high schools who are working to get everyone in their grade to go to college. Here's a preview.
They're looking at your GPA, and they're looking at your SAT scores, and they're looking at your personal statement.
And then she's like, you might not get accepted anywhere.
I've been knocked down, I've been harassed, I've been disrespected.
Everything in life is a battle. If you want something, you gotta fight for it.
What if I make the wrong choice? What if I pick the wrong school?
Voy para la escuela y no vengo para atrás.
Una niña no puede andar sola en el camino.
Porque yo soy un niño.
Claro.
One of those students, Enoch Jemott, wrote a New York Times op-ed detailing his struggles titled "The Implicit Punishment of Daring to Go to College When Poor."
We're joined now by Enoch Jemott, who is featured in the film, and the film's director, Juliane Dressner. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Enoch, this is coming at a great time because we've all been talking about this admissions scandal, and we're all shocked watching this. You are not just shocked. You took an extra step to actually write about it.
Yes.
What did you want people to know?
I wanted people to know that throughout my college process, me applying to school in high school and me assisting my peers, I witnessed and experienced so much adversity behind getting myself to college and also assisting my peers getting to college as well. And I was completely blown away when I figured out that people were sneaking their way in, in a sense. And I think of it like this. There was this wall placed, right? And I approached this wall and it's like slightly out of reach. And I'm at this wall and I'm like, I have no idea how to get over this wall whatsoever. And no one has taught me, and neither have my peers. And I look to my left and my right and people are frolicking to the wall with some ladders.
Right.
And they have people assisting them up. And I'm like, can I have some of that?
Right.
And they're like, oh no, that'd be $15,000. And I'd even bring my wallet to this thing,
Right.
It was so strange to me, and I felt like just infuriated, and I just started writing.
It's the lesson, I think, that a lot of people who saw this story, Juliane, were really shocked because, and Anne-Marie and I have talked about this often, her parents are immigrants. My parents, like you write in your op-ed, you knew that there was an SAT, you had no idea how to begin studying for it, you had no idea how to even apply to college, and I went to school in New York City. The idea of these hurdles, this wall that exists even before you get to this process, is shocking to a lot of people. And then you find out that there are people that are willing to spend $15,000, $20,000, $500,000 to get their kids into schools that are not even Ivy League schools in some instances. Why did you want to make this film?
Well, it very similar to why Enoch wrote the op-ed and why Enoch did the work he was doing when he was in high school, working as a college counselor, helping his classmates apply to college at the same time as he was. We made the film because we wanted to shed light on the fact that the vast majority of students in this country don't have access to the support they need to navigate the increasingly complicated college application and financial aid application process. And many people are not aware of the fact that we have a huge college guidance gap. And it is a major cause of the achievement gap. The average school counselor to student ratio in the country is 1 to 464. And school counselors say that they can only spend 20% of their time on college counseling. So what we have is a situation where most public schools don't have any staff member who's 100% dedicated to college counseling. And the school counselors that we do have there, the ratio is crazy. 1.7 million students in this country attend a school that has a police officer, but not a school counselor.
And that's what I got from your op-ed, Enoch, was that you and the other students, you're willing to do the hard work. What you're not getting is the structure, the support that maybe wealthier kids are getting. Like, even if we're not talking about people scamming their way in, we're talking about strategies, because there's a lot of strategy to getting into school. It's more than just great grades. The strategy on how to study and pass the SATs, how to get a high score, how to choose which colleges to apply for, how to write that essay. All of this stuff, many students are not getting at all, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. And this is the reason why an article like this or films like this, the one personal statement, it's to inform reform, and that's like our whole goal, and that's our mission, for there to be not these systemic barriers placed to make it seem like college will not be in your reach. Like college is supposed to be a place where we can achieve it and it's easy to attain. And it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the system's set up to keep us suppressed.
Yeah, well, we were talking a little bit before we started, and when you talk about the counselors, I was just sort of sharing my own story. But the only reason I applied to college on time is because I happened to walk through the school cafeteria, and a school counselor was sitting down with a bunch of kids, and it wasn't lunchtime. And so I asked, what were you doing? And they were all applying to universities. I had no idea this was the time of year to apply to universities. I hadn't talked to the school guidance counselor once the entire time I'd been there. So I get what you mean.
Right. And that's why we're bringing the film on April 17th to Capitol Hill. We want the folks who are making decisions about where we put our resources in public education to understand the lived experience of young people who are struggling to get to college, so that, as Enoch said, we can inform reform, because they need to understand. I mean, one example is from Enoch's own experience that he wrote about in the op-ed, is what it was like to simply get all the forms he needed for the financial aid process.
And I wonder too, Juliane, there's another story that was bubbling in the zeitgeist, which had probably not gotten as much attention as the one with the parents who cheated their way into university for their kids. It's the one that the 3 technical high schools in New York City, only out of something like 800 students, only accepted 7 or 8 African American students into it. And same thing, right? I knew that those schools existed when I was in elementary school in New York City. I just had no idea how to even begin to prepare for them. And a lot of these kids had already started preparing by the time they were in 1st grade. And by the time I heard of Stuyvesant or Brooklyn Tech, I was in 6th grade. So, and my parents probably just thought, hey, you go to the high school in the neighborhood where your high school is. There's no idea. They probably did not know or were not aware of the ability to go to another high school outside of Flushing, Queens.
That's right. That's right. And
So
how do we fix this?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of suggestions. I mean, first and foremost with this film, we are calling attention to the fact that we need to fill the college guidance gap. As it turns out in New York City, you need the same kind of guidance support to navigate the high school system. So that, of course, is a problem in New York City. I think there are, broader systemic reforms like integrating schools would be great. Improving, the quality of all public education would be great. But there's also some very specific things like simplifying FAFSA.
Yeah. And it's, my friend Nicole Hannah-Jones writes about school and public education for the New York Times Magazine, and she's written a lot of articles specifically talking about what you're suggesting, which is that New York City schools are actually some of the most segregated schools in America. Yes. People don't realize that. So it's an important film. It's called Personal Statement. Juliane, thank you for being here, and thank you so much for your op-ed. Really interesting to talk to you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.